Hey everyone, today we're counting down the 15 most amazing temporary structures. Now these things are designed for events, exhibitions, or cultural gatherings, and they demonstrate the potential of temporary architecture to leave a lasting impact. Let's start with number 15, the Cardboard Cathedral, Christchurch, New Zealand. The Cardboard Cathedral in Christchurch, New Zealand is a wonderful example of a structure that was built in response to a natural disaster. It was designed by the Japanese architect Shigeru Ban, and it was completed in a little over a year after work had begun as a temporary replacement for the iconic Christchurch Cathedral, which was severely damaged during a series of devastating earthquakes that struck the city in 2010 and 2011. Shigeru is renowned for his work with unconventional materials, particularly cardboard, where he uses because of its low cost, accessibility, and surprising strength. The cathedral, officially called the Transitional Cathedral, is mainly made from 86 giant cardboard tubes, each of which is 1,100 pounds in weight and coated with waterproof polyurethane. And now hosts not only religious services but also concerts, exhibitions, and civic events, playing a vital part in the community it serves. Number 14, the Ice Hotel, Jukkasjärvi, Sweden. The Ice Hotel in Jukkasjärvi, Sweden is a fascinating example of transient architecture that combines artistry and sustainability. It's located about 11 miles from the town of Kiruna in the Arctic Circle. Now, this unique hotel is rebuilt each year from snow and ice sourced from the nearby Torn River. Since its creation in 1989, the Ice Hotel has become a popular destination for tourists from around the world, but also a one-of-a-kind canvas for artists and designers. Every year as winter approaches, a completely new design is drawn up and construction begins. The water from the river is perfect for the hotel because it's both strong and crystal clear, which provides a beautiful material that's ideal for sculpting. Each room and suite is uniquely designed by different artists who apply their creative talents to turn these spaces. And a main hall all sculpted from ice. The ice bar serves drinks in glasses made entirely of ice, while the church hosts weddings and ceremonies, providing a fairy tale setting. At the end of the winter season, when spring comes around, the hotel begins to melt back into the river, and within a few weeks, all trace of it is gone. Number 13, the Bruges Whale, Belgium. The Bruges Whale, also known as Skyscraper, is a striking, large-scale sculpture that was built next to the canals of Bruges in Belgium as part of the 2018 Bruges Triennial. The installation was created by the New York-based design and architecture firm Studio KCA, led by Jason Klomoski and Leslie Chang, as both an eye-catching piece of public art and a statement on environmental conservation. It was created from 5 tons of plastic waste that had been collected from the Pacific and the Atlantic Oceans. This whale is an enormous 38 feet tall and simulates a blue whale leaping out of the water. The plastic materials used to construct this whale were collected from the coastlines of tons of plastic floating around in the oceans, which is more than the total mass of whales that live in the water of the planet. The sculpture represents just the tip of the plastic iceberg, but it certainly is a clever way of highlighting the issue. Number 12, the London Mastaba, United Kingdom. The London Mastaba was a huge floating sculpture by the artist Christo, who was well known for his ambitious and large-scale temporary artworks. This particular installation was his first major public outdoor work in the UK, and it was displayed on the Serpentine Lake in London's Hyde Park during the summer of 2018. The project was a temporary installation and was only there between June to September of that year. The sculpture took the form of a mastaba, which is a type of ancient Egyptian tomb that has a distinctive flat-roofed shape with sloping sides. This adaptation was colorful, imposing. It was a structure made from 7,500 horizontally stacked barrels on a floating platform, and it measured over 66 feet high, 98 feet in its own right. The London Mastaba was a powerful promotional tool to bring visitors in. Despite only being there for a few months, it proved to be extremely popular and significantly upped the profile of the artist in the UK and beyond. Number 11, the Seed Cathedral, Shanghai Expo, China. The Seed Cathedral was the UK pavilion at the 2010 Shanghai Expo in China, and soon it became one of the most memorable structures at the event. It was designed by a British engineer, Thomas Heatherwick. The pavilion represented a huge architectural feat, and it was one of the most visited and celebrated attractions. The themes of the exposition was Better City, Better Life, with the aim of encouraging discussions about sustainable urban living, a brief that the Seed Cathedral achieved majestically with a message about biodiversity and conservation. Standing at almost 66 feet tall, or about 20 meters, the Seed Cathedral was a cubic structure made up of 60,000 thin, transparent acrylic rods, each extending from the surface of the building. Above each all the others on display, and it was described as being a metaphor for the potential of life and growth, encapsulated in the seeds that were a fundamental part of the exhibit. While it was dismantled following the expo, the Seed Cathedral's message and impact continue to spread. It received a number of awards for its design, and it was celebrated globally. Number 10. Makoko Floating School, Lagos, Nigeria. The Makoko Floating School was designed by architect Kunlele Adeyemi and his firm NLE as a way to address the needs of the waterlogged Makoko community, which is largely built on stilts above a lagoon as part of Lagos in Nigeria. Makoko, which is often referred to as the Venice of Africa, is a densely populated place with very limited access to land-based infrastructure. The floating school here offers a sustainable and adaptable solution that could cope with environmental challenges of rising water levels. Completed in 2013, it was a triangular 3-story A-frame structure that was built on a floating platform, collapsing in 2016 during a heavy storm. And luckily, these issues had already been noticed and there was no one in the school at the time. And despite this setback, the project had already gained international acclaim. Following the collapse, the lessons learned from the Makoko Floating School inspired the development of the Floating System, which is a scalable building prototype designed for broader uses in the other water-affected regions. This idea has continued to drive interest in sustainable architecture and urban planning solutions tailored to the unique challenges of specific communities. Number 9. The Floating Flower Garden, Tokyo, Japan. Alright, we're back in Tokyo for the Floating Flower Garden in Tokyo. It's an immersive installation that combines nature, technology, and art in a display of interactive beauty. Created by Team Lab, a group of technologists and artists known for their approaches to digital art, this installation is in the Miraikon Museum in Tokyo. It consists of thousands of living flowers that hang from the ceiling. This interactivity allows each visitor to have a personalized experience, and it makes it feel as if the entire field of flower gently sways and moves as if it were breathing. This creates a surreal, dreamlike sensation that blurs the boundaries between the natural world and technology. Aiming to explore themes of connectivity and coexistence between humans and nature, the idea of making flowers respond to human movement, says Team Lab, suggests a symbiotic relationship where nature responds directly to human presence. This fascinating installation is temporary by its very nature, with plants often being replaced and the entire thing is regularly being closed to be fully redesigned. It won't be there forever either, as the plan is to remove it entirely and use the space for a completely different installation in the future. Number 8. Palace of Fine Arts, San Francisco, United States. The Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco, California is a stunning structure that was originally built for the 1915 Panama Pacific International Exposition. Roman and Greek architecture, under which sits a sculpture of weeping women. The Palace of Fine Arts was purposefully designed to give a sense of awe and wonder, with columns and detailed motifs that create reflected light and shadow in a way that changes with the day. It was, though, originally only meant to be there for a short period, so when it was constructed, builders used temporary materials. By the 1960s, however, the palace was so popular with locals that a project began to rebuild it to the original designs with permanent weather-resistant materials. Today, it's a popular tourist destination and a central part of the city's cultural life, hosting art exhibitions, performances, and community events. Its theater is a hub for local performances, meaning it's had far more of an impact on the city than anyone could have imagined when they first came up with the idea. Moving on to number 7, the Floating Piers, Lake Iseo, Italy. The Floating Piers was another incredible temporary art installation by the artist Cristo, which made waves around the world during its 16-day exhibition on June 2016. 150,000 square feet of shimmering yellow fabric. The pathway, which was approximately 1.8 miles long and about 52 feet wide, bobbed up and down with the movement of the water, creating a unique interaction between the visitors and natural environment. What made the Floating Piers really unique was its accessibility. It was completely free for the public to visit, and in just 16 days, over 1.2 million people visited it, meaning around 72,000 people per day were walking, sitting, and lying on the fabric, which changed color from a bright sunny yellow to a shimmering gold as the sunlight shifted. The project was a feat of not only artistic vision, but also engineering. To hold it in place, 220 6-ton anchors were set into the lake bed, and it's believed to have costed around $17 million to build, $100,000 of which was used to create the traffic planning document alone. Well, after nearly taking 2 years of planning and 3 months of assembly, it was impressively completely funded by Christo through the sale of his original works, sketches, and preparatory drawings for the project. Temporary pavilion that becomes the focus of a 4-month program of cultural events. Each M Pavilion is envisioned as a space for stimulation and discussion around architectural practices and the role of design in modern society. Over the years, it's attracted world-renowned architects to design each version of the pavilion, including people like Rem Koolhaas and David Giannotten of OMA. All the architects bring their unique styles and perspectives, making each year's pavilion distinctly different from the last. The structure typically opens in October and runs until February, which are the spring and summer seasons in Melbourne. Throughout this time, the series of events, talks, performances, and other installations are arranged all in line with the theme of the pavilion, which helps increase the community engagement. In 2017, for example, the pavilion designed by Rem Koolhaas and David Giannotten of OMA was particularly interesting because of its amphitheater-style layout and pivoting tribune, which created a space for public use and interaction. The design encouraged visitors to engage actively with it. Introduced in the 2016 edition of the Biennale, which is the largest exhibition of contemporary art in South Asia, the People's Pavilion has become a symbol of local participation and artistic expression. The Kochi Muziris Biennale, which began in 2012, serves as a platform for international contemporary art. The People's Pavilion has become a vital part of this showcase, designed to be an open, interactive space where learning and expression can be displayed. The concept of the People's Pavilion focuses on the idea of art for everyone and is intentionally located in public spaces to maximize its accessibility. Unlike the more traditional gallery settings elsewhere, the pavilion encourages spontaneous interaction, making art and cultural displays accessible to a wider demographic. Built to a completely different design for each event, the construction of the pavilion usually involves sustainable practices, in line with the Biennale's commitment to environmental consciousness. For example, the materials used are normally sourced locally, such as reclaimed wood, recycled materials. It acts as a living classroom for students and young artists, providing them with the opportunity to engage directly with established artists and thinkers, hopefully inspiring and nurturing the next generation of artists who may one day display there themselves. Number 4. The Big Air Package, Oberhausen, Germany. Big Air Package is another hugely ambitious art installation by the artist Christo, which was unveiled in 2013 at the Gasmeter Oberhausen in Germany, which is a former gas storage facility that's been transformed into an exhibition space. The work, which was the artist's largest indoor sculpture to that point, captured the essence of his fascination with enclosing space and playing with the perceptions of the viewers. The installation stood at an enormous height of 295 feet or 90 meters and a diameter of 164 feet or 50 meters, filling much of the interior of the giant gasometer. Big Air Package was created using just under 220,000 square feet of trend conversations and noises that happened. Ensuring an interaction with the surrounding environment despite being indoors, the translucent quality of the fabric altered throughout the day as the natural light changed, which created a different ambiance inside. The installation remained on display between March and December of 2013 and attracted hundreds of thousands of visitors during this time. As with all of Christo's projects, the installation was completely self-financed through the sale of his original works of art, and following its closure, the sculpture was finally dismantled and ultimately recycled. Number 3. The Blur Building, Switzerland. With snow-capped mountains and slowly moving glaciers, Switzerland is known as a place where the environment can feel transient, so it seems fitting that one of the most amazing temporary but permanent structures in the world is there. Known as the Blur Building, it was conceptualized and created by the architectural firm Diller Scofido and Renfro. It was built as part of the Swiss Expo in 2002, and unlike traditional buildings, changing weather and climatic conditions, altering the density and shape, and constantly reshaping the architecture itself. Visitors to the Blur Building embarked on a journey that began at a jetty, where they were given a raincoat and led along a 400-foot-long ramp that extended into the lake to the main mass of the fog. The journey through the mist was disorienting and surreal, as all the usual visual references disappeared, with the senses of sound and touch becoming heightened. This concept behind the Blur Building extended beyond its unusual structure, as according to its designers, it was intended to explore the themes of dematerialization, presence, and interaction of humans with the environment. By stripping away visual elements, the architects encouraged visitors to become more aware of their other senses, creating an introspective experience. In a surprising addition of technology, the building also included a brain coat, which is a wearable piece of technology that collected biometric data from the wearer, such as heart rate and body temperature, and translated this data into a light pattern on the coat. The origin of Black Rock City dates back to 1986, when Burning Man first was held on Baker Beach in San Francisco with a small group of people. The event was moved to the Black Rock Desert in 1990 due to its growing size and the need for a more open space that could accommodate the festival's radical self-expression and self-reliance ideals. Unlike traditional cities, Black Rock City is planned and built by its citizens, who are also attendees of the festival. The layout of the city is designed to resemble a clock face. The main avenue, called the Esplanade, forms a semicircle, and at the end is the iconic Burning Man effigy. Radial streets are named after hours on the clock and intersect with circles that are named alphabetically. At the heart of this city is the principle of leave no trace, which is rigorously practiced to ensure the desert itself is left pristine. The environmental ethos is central to the festival's commitment to sustainability and respect for the earth. But despite the city's temporary nature, it features a complex infrastructure, including emergency services. Artists from around the world can, that is of course until next year, when it begins all over again. Number 1. The Eiffel Tower. So, one of the most recognizable monuments in the entire world, the Eiffel Tower was barely meant to have been in the center of Paris for only a few decades, let alone more than a century. It was originally designed as a temporary exhibit for the 1889 World's Fair, which was held in the city that year to celebrate the centennial of the French Revolution. Of course, it was engineered by Gustave Eiffel and his assistants. With a height of over 1,083 feet, the iron lattice tower was the tallest man-made structure in the world until the completion of the Chrysler Building in New York in 1930. Made from 7,300 tons of iron and held together by 2.5 million rivets, the design was revolutionary for its time, using the structural principles of truss and cross-bracing for stability. It was unlike anything anyone had ever seen so far, and was initially massively criticized by some of France's leading artists and intellectuals for its design. Eiffel managed 3 levels accessible to visitors. The first 2 can be reached by stair or lift, and the 3rd level is at the summit, which can only be reached by lift and offers incredible panoramic views of Paris. It's seen from across Paris, particularly at night when it's illuminated by 20,000 light bulbs. It's the longest lasting and most impactful temporary structure of all time, and one that Parisians probably hope will keep standing for at least another 135 years. Thanks for watching.